Back in 2011, Tetsuo suggested that the members of TWHL do a sort of Secret Santa style competition. Well, not a competition as such, but just something to get the community actively mapping. And what it was each mapper would be assigned a different mapper, and you would then have to make a map for them in time for Christmas, and then they'd be dished out. Names wouldn't be revealed until later on. All that jazz. You know how Secret Santa works. And it was generally very successful. Even I made something for it, and that's saying something, because I never ever release maps. But sure enough, some really good maps were released, and eventually, when the time came to vote for Map of the Month, it was one of these Secret Santa maps that won pick of the draw, I suppose. And that map was Secret Santa 2011-Soup Miner. So very catchy. But in short, it's basically Extreme J-Quiz. And the map was completed by Doggybag71. Now, this map was made very much with Soup Miner in mind, another active member of TWHL, who has, obviously at some point in the past, I don't know if I'm aware of it, but has obviously got some kind of passion or just interest in Japan. So the quiz basically focuses on Japan. There's 3 rounds. The initial round focuses on kanji and its meaning. The second round focuses on anime, and finally the third round is about it's general Japanese trivia. So let's actually talk about the map. Architecturally, the map is quite good. The first stage of the 3 maps is set in, I believe, Racetown, which was actually recently reviewed by Rimrook. The thing I like about this map is that while the architecture isn't stunning, it's made up for by texture work. So architecture in the first level isn't necessarily great, but it still works. It's actually pretty good when it's used, in conjunction with great texturing and lighting, etc. Then there are the follow-on maps. One takes place on a train, and out the windows you can see the countryside actually rolling by. If you look carefully, you can tell what he's done to achieve the look, but it's something I never would have thought of. And it's actually really good, and the inside of the carriage is well mapped and well detailed. And then the final stage takes place outside in Japanese countryside type area. Now this is probably my favourite part of the map. It's all very nicely mapped, a few blocky areas here and there, but the terrain is actually generally very good. The only downside is the use of models, which probably doesn't genuinely come under architecture, but one of the models is used for the bridge in the middle. You clip through it when you walk near it, and it's just not what I was expecting when I approached it. That just killed it a bit for me, but overall architecture in the map is fairly good. Texturing the map, as I said, is very well done. It complements the architecture very well, especially in the initial stage with the blocky architecture. The use of textures really bring life to the sort of city environment that he's trying to portray. The second stage, again, spot on with the texturing. It looks like the inside of a train carriage. It's got Japanese themes to it, Japanese kanji symbols on the doors and on signs. It's all just very convincing texture work. And then in the final stage, again, fantastic texture work. The only downside I've found throughout the entire thing are the gates that separate the different areas between each round. They're very oddly textured. It's got kind of a bluey grey sort of metal texture on it, which very rarely lines up with the actual brushwork. And then the actual top of it looks like yellow Lego. I'm not entirely sure what the idea was behind these gates, but I think they could have been textured a lot better. I think they sort of suck a bit of the life out of the levels in general, but other than that, I'd say texture work is absolutely stunning. Lighting in the maps is decent, I'd say. The initial stage set in the city, the lighting is perfect for me. It's sort of dark, moody, evening, sort of late night city lighting. The street lamps that cast yellow lights, you can see light beams coming off them. The answers of some of the quizzes are highlighted. You've got general lights sort of on the sides of the streets, other than the street lights, which kind of accent things with fairly contrasting colours here and there. Generally pretty nice. The train stage, again, nothing really to complain about. I'm not sure really how you could vary the lighting in a section set in a train, but it's pretty good. The light from the outside section of the map seems bright enough, it seems fine. The only issue here is the last map. The lighting just generally seems to be plain environment lighting, which, fair enough, if you've got an outside section set in daylight, there isn't really much you can do to play with the lights and make interesting contrasts and things like that. But it just feels flat compared to the initial city level. But otherwise, I'm quite happy with the lighting. I can't see any major complaints. It's just a bit bland in the later stages, but like I say, the option for contrasting colours and such isn't really great. Ambience in the maps seems absolutely fine, no complaints. None of the sounds are too loud. In the city you've got sort of distant winds and traffic sounds, which fits perfectly. The train, you can hear the train running along the tracks. Sounds absolutely fine, fits in perfectly again. And the countryside section, just sweeping winds, birds chirping, general countryside sounds. I think he's got everything perfect. None of the sounds are too loud, and they're just the right volume, so you can know they're there, but they're not overpowering. And yeah, generally very good use of sound. The only downside I've got about the sound is in the initial stage, some of the questions are actually read aloud, I assume by Doggybag71 himself. But the quality of the recording and the volume of the recording, it's quite difficult to make out.
Each stop, there's a question and some alternatives to choose from. You have to pick out the right answer to progress, basically.
What?
The third and final question of this stage. The kanji means what?
What we're doing? But it's fairly clear. The text prompts come up on screen as well, so it's not that big of a deal. Gameplay in this map, I'd say, is fairly unique. Certainly haven't played anything like it myself. You've got 3 multiple choice questions per level, and each one you're either punished or rewarded depending on whether you answer correctly. This is actually pretty good, except of course if you know all the answers, if you are Japanese, or if you're really clued in on Japanese culture and anime and kanji, you're probably not going to get much enjoyment out of it, because if you know all the answers, you're basically just going to be going through, hitting the right answer and powering on to the next stage. What really counts here is the punishments for not answering correctly. Now, these are very good. They spawn enemies sometimes, and you can't fight them off until you obviously get the right answer and achieve the weapon to defeat the enemies. Sometimes, though, the punishments work, and sometimes they don't. Like in one case, I believe I got the answer wrong twice, and the first wrong answer I got spawned a load of zombies, which I had to fight off with the crossbow. And then the second time I answered, I got it wrong again, and I heard the sound of a door opening or something like that in the distance, but nothing happened. Same on the train, some answers that I got wrong didn't seem to have any punishment at all. Sometimes there was an explosion that wouldn't cause any damage. I don't know. At one time I even got the answer right and got rewarded with some shotgun ammo, but because of the placement it sank through the chair that it was on, which was, you know, a bit of a tease. But no, actually I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed, well, it was guesswork for the most part for me. I'm not clued in on kanji or anime at all, so I generally ran through the whole thing guessing. But it was pretty fun. I think it's a really unique idea, and Doggybag71 has done a fantastic job.